one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ali, let's please do the roll call.
Commissioner Neri,
Present.
Commissioner Pertel,
Here. Here.
Commissioner Griffin,
Here.
Vice Chair Wilder,
Here.
Chair Reynolds.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with item number 1. And actually, before we go there, I do want to take a moment to share out the standards of behavior. And I'll just read these aloud. The standards of behavior that promote civility at all public meetings: treat everyone courteously, listen to others respectfully, give open-minded consideration to all viewpoints, focus on the issues and avoid personalizing debate, embrace respectful disagreement and dissent as democratic rights, inherent components of an inclusive public process and tools for forging sound decisions. And last, hate has no place in Santa Monica. The city opposes abusive or threatening hate speech, intolerance, or dehumanization, and supports basic civil respect and human decency. On the first page of the agenda, there are ways to provide public comment. So we will begin with item number 1, which we have added for this special meeting by request, which is public input on any non-agendized item. This is only on items that are not on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Airport Commission. Ali, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Then moving on to item number 2, public input, any agenda items under special agenda items and a consent calendar only. Any requests to speak on this item?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. We will continue for this meeting with the modification to the new agenda guidelines, which is that after each agenda item, we will ask for public comment. The order will go like this. We will announce the item. We will ask for any reports or updates. We'll ask the commissioners for any clarifying questions, and then we will open for public comment on that item, and then we will have discussion. And we decided in January to do that because we knew that there were going to be presentations, reports, updates, and to front load all of the public input can put public voices at a disadvantage who may need to hear items before commenting on them. So just to let everybody know, we will ask for public comment on every item, at least for this meeting. Okay, moving on to item number 5, the consent calendar, which includes the approval of minutes from March 27th, 2024, and commercial operations permits for Eleazar Hernandez, doing business as Flaco Services, and Dennis Aircraft Cleaning Services. Do any of the commissioners want to pull any of those items? Yes. Commissioner Griffin.
I'll have to abstain on A, so maybe it should be broken into 2 parts, since I wasn't here for that meeting.
So I can split them. Okay. So, okay, great. All right. So do we have a motion to approve item 5A, the minutes from March 27th, 2024?
I'll move that we move the minutes, or approve the minutes.
And a second?
Yes. Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the minutes from March 27th, 2024 by Commissioner Wilder and seconded by Commissioner Pertel. Can we have a voice vote, please, on this item? All in approval?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, with one abstention.
Abstain.
Thank you. And that passes with 4 affirmative votes and 1 abstention. Moving on to the commercial operations permits. Do we have a motion?
I have a quick question on it, actually.
Okay. Yes.
I think this is for Stelios. The two, both COPs are for companies that clean aircraft. I noticed they're both designated as non-aviation related businesses on the COPs.
I think the reason behind that, because they're non-aviation businesses, but they provide services to aviation businesses or aeronautical activities. That's why it's marked that way. Because they don't just, and I refer to them, they're not aviation activities. They're non-aviation. Okay, it's just the category they fall in. They service an aviation activity, aeronautical companies, but it's not an aviation activity. They just wash. They don't.
Okay. I'm just wondering where that line gets drawn then, but that's fine. I mean, it's pretty clear what they do. I don't want to make a big point of it. It just seems strange to me since, if they were just washing cars, it would make sense, right?
They
And
do
that.
wash cars too.
Right, but if that's all they were doing, it would make sense.
Right.
But, all right, I just wanted to mention that because it seemed incongruous, but if that's where the line is drawn, that's where the line is drawn. For me, it doesn't have any impact otherwise.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Wilder. Do we have a motion for approval of the commercial operations permits?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right.
Joe, turn your mic on if you're gonna second.
Second.
A moment here. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion for approval of the commercial operations permit, motion made by Commissioner Neary and seconded by Commissioner Pertel. All in favor of this motion, we'll take a voice vote.
Yes?
Aye.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So the motion to approve the commercial operations permit made by Commissioner Neary and seconded by Commissioner Pertel passes with a 5-0 voice vote. All right, moving on to item number 6, public input on remaining agenda items. Ali, do we have any requests to speak?
We have one request to speak for item 8A, Karen Melick. I'm going to start your timer. Just give me 1 second. Karen, you have 2 minutes.
Good evening.
Time starts now.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Karen Mielik, a 32-year resident of Santa Monica. I live in Sunset Park with my wife, Claire Thomas, who's the president of the Friends of Sunset Park. I'm also the chair of the Santa Monica Aquatics Advisory Committee, an advisory group to the Recs and Parks Commission. My vice chair, Mikey Flaherty, is also here tonight. We were both unable to attend the Recs and Parks Commission meeting last week where the airport planning process was presented. So I'm here tonight to hear the presentation. Our committee and many of the Santa Monica Swim Center patrons are interested in this planning process as the city comparatively does not have many swim pools, and those that we do have are shared with schools. It was identified in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan back in 1997 that the city needs an aquatics facility in a family-friendly park setting. That need is even greater today as bookings for swim lessons fill up in a matter of seconds. As a beach city, it's imperative to teach our children how to swim for their safety. I also support your efforts to coordinate with the other city commissions and groups on this tremendous opportunity for our city. I do suggest that the wording of item 8B, you strike the word possible as it regards to the possible development of a park. I'm hoping, and what we've really stressed is that voters have said this will be a park unless the voters say something different. So just one recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Milik.
Thank you.
Any other requests to speak on item 6?
We have a request to speak from Joe Schmitz for item 8B.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioner.
1 second. I'm going to start your timer. I will let you know when to start. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, your
Hi.
time starts now.
No. Hi, Commissioners. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're there and I'm here. I saw the Parks letter, 7 November, and I was kind of blown away. Let me give a summary. Thanks to the City Council for dumping the lottery. It stresses that they think, as do I, that Measure LC should be the guiding assumption and frame of reference for community engagement. It asks that a representative of their commission be a member of any advisory committee or working group. And I think you should ask the same thing and plan to do the same thing. Furthermore, Recs and Parks Review wants to review and vet any conclusions before a presentation to the City Council. You should request the same process. Furthermore, you ought to establish a liaison, a permanent liaison with Recs and Parks, because, in fact, you and Recs and Parks will be the focal point for presenting advice to the City Council on all matters airport, including a transition, if and only if we should be lucky to have one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schmitz.
Thank you.
Any other requests to speak, Ally?
No, ma'am.
All right, let's move on to item 8, our continued items. First item, 8A, is the airport conversion project. Discussion about the city's ongoing public planning process regarding the future of Santa Monica Airport and process for airport closure and decommissioning. There will be a presentation, discussion, and possible action on the airport community outreach process and a presentation by Amber Rashane. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for reading that, because when they said possible, I was like, that was not what we wrote. We said possible action so that you guys, you all had that choice. But good evening. My name is Amber Rashane, as you mentioned. Thank you for having us, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. We are here tonight to give an update as to where we are, because we've been diligently working, right? First executing a contract and now diligently working, and we're happy and excited to start the conversion process. So you're starting to get to see some of the branding for the project. The official name, which is super long, Santa Monica Airport Conversion Project, because we didn't want to conflict with the Santa Monica Airport Commission if we were using the same acronym. So we did add the project there. Tonight, we'll be talking about the project overview, kind of where we are, what we've been up to, specific more detail on the Phase 1 engagement activities that we're excited about, and then we're available for questions and comments. Stelios, did you want to say, you said something about, you're good on the video. Okay, there's a video question. All right, so to date, what have we been doing? We, first and foremost, because we've gotten a lot of questions around what is staff telling Sasaki to do? What is our charge? So first and foremost is that we are working towards closure for December 31st, 2028, as afforded in the consent decree. There are 2 tracks of work going on. So one, which is current operations, current maintenance, current leasing, right, that needs to be in adherence with the consent decree. That is our airport director. His job is to make sure that we run the airport in compliance with all of the FAA rules so that there is no wiggle room. When we hit December 31st, 2028, we have fulfilled our side of that agreement. The second set of work is what the team that I lead. We are responsible for the closure of the airport, right? It is a little difficult to run an airport and then also figure out how to close it. It's more, our team feels more able to do that work because we need it to close so that we can live into the engagement process and plans that we're developing. So those are the 2 pieces that the team that I lead. So there's kind of 2 different sets of people you can go to. And you can always talk to Rick as various emails and info items suggested as well. But that's kind of the separation of work. So tonight I'm really going to focus on that closure and the planning and engagement process. Second, as the gentleman that was just up and Karen mentioned, that we are focused on delivering a great park that will serve Santa Monica for generations, right? This is a once in a, not even lifetime, multiple lifetimes, right, opportunity. And so we want to be thinking very long term about how this can best work for all Santa Monicans and, for many generations. So those are kind of the 2 things that we're charged with or focused on. Scheduled to date, we received approval of the RFP award to Sasaki at the end of December. We negotiated a contract with them and had that executed in the beginning of March. And we started the very next day with the project kickoff with the team. And that was with the consultant team to really get to know each other, to start digesting all of the existing conditions information that we have, kind of dig in a little bit deeper as to what these 5 phases that we've been talking about are. And we have a lot more information to share tonight about that. So in March and April, that's really what we've been working on, is getting to the May 19th date, which we'll spend a lot more time on in just a minute. But so existing conditions and then building this engagement strategy so that we can have a robust understanding of what's going on. You've seen this version before in previous presentations. It's a little different now because what we're adding in is our understanding of the pathway to anticipated closure. So we're at the beginning, right? We have done some early visioning, which we've all talked about in that 2010-2013 timeframe. We are starting on the current process for the community engagement to create that preferred scenario. This is sort of the first step to closure, is we now understand CEQA and our EIR requirement better. We do need to do an EIR because closing an airport, just closing it, counts as a project under CEQA. And so we need to have our preferred scenario to get to closure. We looked also at, can we just do it on closure and then deal with this later? And CEQA gets really unhappy with you if you do that. It's something called piecemealing. So the fact that we need to close it and show what we're going to do. We can't just say, oh, we're going to close it, but we don't have any idea what we're doing, right? That's, they get very upset about that. So we need to come to that preferred scenario so that we can do the EIR and CEQA. We've left, we believe, enough time to have a full EIR CEQA process and at the latest in the summer of 2028 be able to hold that certify an EIR, vote for closure, and affirm a project so that council would do that work then. So you can see kind of at the top, the date there, May 24th to the end of December 26th. We expect to start that EIR process in early 2026 so that we've got 2, almost 3 years to go through that process. That does also leave time for any lawsuits and those sorts of things, because we inevitably think that that might occur. We hope not, but it's better to plan for it and be able to do things sooner, but giving ourselves enough time to make space for that if that occurs. Then that all aligns with airport closure on December 31st, 2028, and then we can go into those implementation of the preferred scenario. So we're in phase 1. That's where you see the orange box. Those are the 5 phases that I'm hoping at this point you're familiar with. Charting the course is really getting our community excited, inviting them to the community engagement activities, hearing from people across Santa Monica about what this property means and can do, and what our future selves and future generations need and or want. And then working through discovering the place, kind of starting to funnel down with a little bit more existing conditions information. We are still digesting a lot of that. And that was where you've heard us talk about guiding principles. And only then would we then be putting pen to paper, where we'd be developing scenarios based on what we've heard through these first 8 months of community engagement. Then that would, through more robust community engagement, get to a preferred scenario, and then once we've got that, then we can go through phasing. To dig in a little bit more detail, these are each of the 5 phases that I just kind of generically talked about, and I recognize it's a little bit hard to see because there's detail in here, so we're happy to share the PDF. That's no problem. But what you'll see is each of these phases, as we talked about in the December meeting at Council, each phase has a large community event where we're inviting people in to come talk to us and discern and give ideas and share stories. There are 4 pop-up events that occur sometimes before, sometimes after. For this first phase, we're doing 4 events after, because we wanted the kickoff to be the big celebration, sort of like a big party that we get to actually start. And then we're launching the engagement project website. So you'll have seen our current website, hopefully. You've been to the Future of Santa Monica. That's on the santamonica.gov site. We're going to have an engagement site, and that's where we'll have the survey. That's where a lot of the timelines and histories. We've got virtual learning sessions that will also be up there. And then all of the information and sharing that comes from this engagement will be hosted on that website. And then as we move through phase 2, 3A, 3B, and 4, that website will grow. And so we're excited, if you haven't seen it yet, our landing page is live. So the whole website is not up yet. We hope to have that in the next couple weeks, but we wanted to get a teaser page up as soon as we could, showing when that first community kickoff is, which is May 19th at Clover Park on the east side, so that barbecue pit area number 1. From 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. There is also the Critical Mass and Mental Health Fair that's going on in the morning, so we're sort of overlapping a little bit and then continuing on from there. So we're hoping to get people sort of a cross-pollination from the events. And then there will be additional pop-up events. So you can write down that webpage. You can also sign up. You can put your name and your email so that you will get automatically updated as we move through the next 21 months. It is also available in English and Spanish. There's a little toggle button there, so you can see it in Spanish as well. So, big bold red letters, May 19th, mark your calendars. Hopefully you can make it. If not, it's okay. That's where the project website comes in. The survey is not just like a Survey Monkey where you're clicking buttons and going through. It really is meant to mirror the experience of attending the community event, so it's a little bit more robust of a survey. That'll be available on the engagement website and will be open for about 4 weeks. So we're hoping to launch it about a week before the May 19th date. You'll also find the virtual education sessions that I mentioned there, another contact page if you've got some other things that you want to just tell us off the bat, and a calendar of upcoming events. The next item shows the pop-up events that we're targeting. They are around Santa Monica so that we can get to a diversity of folks. Our farmers markets, we're targeting 2 of them. Pancakes in the Park, which is a really great event in Ishihara, and then the Juneteenth celebration at Virginia Avenue Park. There were some questions on why these events, where, and all of that. That the big event is in Clover Park intentionally, right? That is right next to the airport. It is walkable, bikeable, skatable from, Friends of Sunset, or from the Sunset Park area. And so that's our big sort of splash event. And so we wanted to spread around some of these smaller pop-up events that seem to be pretty well attended by community members. The last thing that I'll point out is the info item. If you have not seen it yet, the link will be part of the PDF, but it is about airport closure, and it explains in more detail sort of the 2 different roles that I described at the beginning, and goes through some of those details of actual closure notices that we have to send to the FAA and regional boards to actually close, or what do they call it, decommission an airport. So there's a lot more detail in that one as well. So with that, it's kind of a short presentation, but that's where we are because we're about to launch a whole bunch of things. We hope that you will join us. We also hope that you will tell your friends and everyone about May 19th, and please show up. And we look forward to your questions and to seeing you in person as well.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rashane. I really appreciate your presentation. Do we have any clarifying questions before we open up for any public comment on this item? Clarifying questions? No? Do we have any requests to speak on this item?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and again, I will say we are doing this a little different than the new agenda. We will ask for public comment on each agenda item, at least for this meeting. So if anybody does want to ask anything, you can submit a chat with Ally. So any questions, comments, discussion from commissioners?
No.
All right. Thank you. I'm excited to see this moving forward, and I will see you on May 19th. One little just technical thing on the website. I immediately put in my name and email address, and I hit submit, and it didn't look like it responded.
Oh.
I didn't get an autoresponder or anything. I think it went through.
I've said thank you.
Yeah, I didn't do that, so I just thought I'd give you that user testing feedback.
Thank you.
I hope I'm on the list. Let me know if I'm not. I'll do it again.
I will confirm.
And I wanted to mention one thing. I continue to hear lots of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the community. There's a lot of misinformation. A lot of people think if the airport closes, there's immediately going to be lots of housing or big development. So there's a lot of FUD that's, I think, carryover from the LC&D campaign in 2014, and that's lingering. So, the fear of construction or development is by far the number one thing I've been hearing. And so I think as part of all of this, it would be really helpful to use all the messaging in here and the city's PR machine in general to dispel those misinformation, misunderstanding, and to really help people understand, no, the only thing that can go in here is these things unless there's a citywide vote, because people really don't get it yet.
Absolutely, and that's where we're still working on some of the promotional materials, and so our Office of Communications is very much on board, and when those pieces come out, it says like designing a park, focused on a park, right? All of those messages come out pretty clear. Or we hope they do, because it is. There's a lot of narrative swirling around right now, and that's why we want to say we are focused on a park. We are focused on a great park, and right, this is the once in a millennia opportunity. So hopefully, the more that we say it, the more that people will hopefully believe us, and as we prove it in our words and deeds.
I think that shift has been really productive. I
Great.
agree. I think it's more, though, we have to be like, this is the law. It can't be anything other than a park unless the city votes. Because people don't realize, we're all in the weeds on this, right?
Right.
And most people are like, oh, I heard it's going to be whatever, this big development thing. They're hearing rumors
No.
Right. And we all know that can't happen without a general election vote. But most people still don't seem to get that. That's what I've been hearing in the community. So
Would it
just-
be helpful, because sometimes we say consistent with Measure LC and sometimes we don't, we just say Great Park, is that,
I don't
would
know
that
if people,
help reinforce,
I
or?
mean, Measure LC was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if people really.
Okay.
I feel like that's a shorthand for us in the weeds.
Okay.
And, Rick, your letter to the council, I think, recapped that, or the update info item, I think, has some of that language in there, right? If I remember correctly, I read it
Should, yep.
quickly yesterday. Having that language in there from LC, I think, it's just one or two sentences. I think having that in there, repeating that may be helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have questions, comments?
I just had a comment, which was thank you very much for all the work that you've been doing, and I share his concerns. I hear the same thing. I even hear, and I think that maybe there needs to be some discussion sometimes about, are we closing it? Because sometimes there's an issue as to whether we're closing it. I understand that there's going to need to be some, what I consider to be some administrative votes taken at varying points to effectuate the closure of that. But when I hear people say, no, the airport's not closing, I actually don't think that that's accurate, because there have been consistent votes. There certainly is no contrary vote. And again, I understand as a lawyer that there might need to be some administrative votes, but it concerns me when I hear city folks in particular saying, no, we haven't made that decision, because I think it's very clearly we're spending millions of dollars. We have hired a firm to do this. The city council has voted several times, or a couple times unanimously, to move forward with this process. I just want to make sure that all of the city's on board too, because that concerns me as well.
Sure.
In addition to the misinformation, because it feeds the misinformation.
Sure. And I think some of what you see, right, is we are trying to toe a very specific line with the consent decree. Right. And we can't right now, right, say equivocally, right, where you're saying, but
I understand
we
that.
can say we are working towards, we are anticipating, we are actively taking steps. We would not be spending millions of dollars if this was not the intended outcome. But we have to pull short a little bit.
And we recognize the votes that have been taken too, because it's not just the consent decree, it's also votes at various points by unanimous. There's never been a split vote on this, to my knowledge, in the last several years. It's always been unanimous. So even recognition that the city council has specifically stated that this is the desire of the elected officials in the city. So I just want to make sure, because that concerns me, and I hear it from people as well in the community. It's just like, well, I heard that we're not even closing it. Things like that, and that really concerns me.
Well, and hopefully, right, part of this engagement campaign and why we want the word to be spread very far and wide is so that those misinformation things get quelled, that people can go to a website, they can scan a QR code, they can come to an event. They're seeing us out in the community saying, we're working towards closure. Please tell us what this should be. And the more that we get the opportunities to do that, the better it will be. And hopefully that starts to change that tide.
I just, one other small thing. You mentioned that there was there were going to be surveys of residents. Has there been any thought or discussion as to how to make sure that is coming from input of the residents as opposed to the airline pilot who wrote me the other day from Long Island, New York, for example, and gave me an earful. So how are we going to, I understand too, this is a regional effort too. We may want to get input from Mar Vista or Venice, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't turn into, a change.org petition where people from Western Ontario, Canada are chiming in on what they believe. Either way.
Totally. And we have been very cognizant of that. One of the questions in the survey is, what is your zip code? Yes, people can lie about that. However, the survey also is not if 500 people show up and say, keep the airport open. Again, thank you for your input, but that is not what we're focused on. And so just because someone comes up with any idea and has the most responses does not mean that that's what's going to happen, right? It means it's a piece of information that we have to understand. But that's where the consultant team and the city team and ultimately council get to decide how this is going forward. And there's also ways of understanding where someone is responding from. And so if you are in Los Angeles, that's probably fine. If you're in Los Angeles County, right, if you're in Santa Monica, West LA, but if you are in West Ontario, as you were just sharing, it doesn't mean you can't fill a survey out, but it means that we would understand where that information is coming from, and it would be analyzed appropriately.
Anyone else?
I was just going to say, from a technical perspective, it's pretty easy to spoof that. So just be aware that.
Yeah, and again, this is where humans come in, and we can, if we're seeing 1,000 things come in that all say the exact same thing, okay, that it doesn't mean it won't happen, but it means that we are ready for it, we're prepared for it, and we're aware of it, that it might happen.
Is there any way to, I don't have, require people to be honest legally in a legally binding way? I mean, attesting that, like, this is communication to a city in a form. I have no idea if this is possible, or
Do that on like volunteer applications, but I don't think
Right.
we have done that on surveys.
under penalty of
I
perjury
don't-
kind of thing.
I don't know about that
But I don't know how that would be doable.
It's also,
but-
how would we enforce it? Like, I don't know.
Right. You could certainly have language in there that appeals to people, to be honest, because I believe most people are honest and good. And
Yes,
if, you could certainly encourage it.
I don't think your mic is on.
No, it's not possible. I think we could potentially run into a First Amendment issue. So,
But again, that's where the humans come in and get to say, we see all of these responses, and what do we think about that?
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I had another comment,
Go ahead,
but I don't want to monopolize. Anybody else?
Commissioner Purtell, and then I'll have a turn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was wondering, and this actually follows up from the comments earlier from the folks from the swim center, which I completely agree with. There are these constituencies. For example, the swim center, I had kids who were in the swim programs there, and it was like a knife fight trying to get lane space over there at times. And you're competing, again, adults versus kids versus seniors versus this versus the college versus this. There are a lot of people who may not have a park on their radar, but they know when they go to the swim center that it's really a pain to like fight over having 6 people swimming in a circle. So I'm wondering, and I'm sure you've done this, but I would just strongly encourage you to really work on this. There are a lot of these organizations, whether it's swimmers or whether it's rugby players or youth soccer or PTAs, because if you think about this once in a millennium opportunity, it's the children who are going to maybe be able to take advantage of it when they become 18, 19, whatever age. So to the extent that we're reaching out to our community stakeholders, and I mean, doesn't have to be only athletic organizations, though there are a ton of them. And I know that the city has an organization which meets periodically. I can't remember the acronym.
FSAC.
Yes, exactly. And I would think that even a presentation to them about, for example, encouraging their members to come out, because they would probably be very interested to hear what's going on there, and you'll get a lot more of a response. And it's not just sports, it's PTAs, it's various school organizations, it's senior groups who may be interested in a whole variety of things, whether it's lawn bowling or gardening or just walking around.
Yeah.
Seniors organizations, high school alumni associations. There's just a lot of crossover. Even the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, we shouldn't pick and choose which ones we're doing. I think we should really make an effort to identify as many groups as possible, and then to begin to hit, if possible, their emails and encourage them to come out. Because I think that's the broadest base of opinion you're going to get.
Yes, I definitely agree. And that is something that as we get sort of the promotional, what I'll call a flyer, but
Right.
PDF, we are sending it out to all of our city staff who have liaisons with, who are liaisons on any of those boards and commissions, to say, send it to your commission and encourage them to send it out to their folks, as well as reaching out directly to as many of the city community partners that we can, because we want not just the people in this room or who is on a board and commission to participate. We really want to get it out deeply. And so we are looking at a diversity of our boards and commissions and different recreation groups, and as you mentioned, seniors as well, right? We've got some really good partners, especially right? The ones that are part of the housing or human services grantees, those sorts of things, right? So we're working with the existing networks of the city as well to get it out to them. We're already seeing some of our staff members have included it in their monthly email blast or weekly email blast for whoever their group of folks is. And so we're starting to see that.
Community gardens. Again,
Absolutely.
That's another one. There's probably people waiting 20 years to get a 4x4 little piece of land.
Yeah, definitely. So please, you can always email me or the project email. If there's specific groups and you have a contact, just let us know. We intend to be sending this out to a lot of folks.
Great, thank you. A couple of quick questions, I hope. First, I really, really appreciate the anticipated path to closure slide, and I hope that pathway and progress on that pathway is something that continues to be included as part of this. I don't know if there's a public-facing version of it, but at least...
The info item. So there's a lot more
Yes.
detail in the info item. I mean,
Okay,
you'll also share that more widely, too, because
And I'm a visual person. I really appreciate the visual, and then my mind is trying to kind of look at these side by side and understand how they cross over and braid. So a couple of other, first of all, thank you for that, and a couple of other questions, which are, I know there are regular touch points that will happen in here, and at the point at which you all know what the dates for those are, it would be really lovely for us to know well in advance so that we can plan for them on this commission. I really appreciate you being able to come in here and inform us so we can plan ahead. Also, just curious, looking at the the pop-up events and the community event that's planned, just curious, what are the anticipated or desired numbers of people that you will touch at those events? Is there an idea of what?
You mean like how many people attend a given?
Attend and participate, and what's is there a minimum number of kind of?
I don't know if there's a minimum
contacts?
number. The way that these were selected was we knew we wanted to go to the farmers markets because a lot of that is very local.
Sure.
The Wednesday farmers market gets local, and our downtown tends to be a little bit more visitor, but we also get a lot of our actual restaurants who buy their food there, and so that's a different way of getting to them. The Saturday one is the second most popular of the farmers markets. So we asked our counterparts that run the farmers markets, what are your highest attendance farmers markets? And then the pancakes in the park, because that one is it's just a sweet little event, and it always has a couple hundred people over the course of the pancakes. Everyone's happy, and again, a lot of kids.
Yeah.
You get parents going with their kids and then picking the lemons in Ishihara Garden, and so you're getting community gardeners as well, and so it's sort of a nice nexus there.
Right.
And then the Juneteenth celebration tends to be a pretty big celebration, but also looking at are we being as inclusive as we can be, and so targeting those events.
Okay. So not necessarily specific numbers that you're aiming for.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
That's all I have on this. I don't know if anybody has any other questions or comments on the other item on the closure update, but we could maybe move there if we want and say thank you to Amber Rashane for
Thank you, Amber.
being with us tonight. Really appreciate the hard work that you all are embarking on, and I hope everybody will be there on May 19th.
Yes.
So the next item here is the Santa Monica Airport closure update. Did you want to touch base on that at all? Did you have anything that you wanted to share about that?
Not really. I tried to, the team tried to be as clear and straightforward as we could with the information item to make the public aware of the responsibilities that the Public Works Department has as it pertains to the closure of the airport. And I'm happy to answer any questions on any ambiguity that might be in the information item that was posted.
Does anybody have any questions?
I don't.
Did everybody have a chance to take a look?
I did.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
And again, I really appreciate the braiding and of these different tracks, for lack of better language. And I was trying to remember the name. Is it Principal Design? There's a new
Principal Design Manager.
Principal Design Manager. I will have this memorized. Is there any progress on that?
And correction is Principal Planning and Design Manager.
Planning and
Thank you.
Design
I think design's first technically, but yes.
Design and
It's all of those words.
Okay.
So it got approved by the Personnel Board last month, and HR is poised to open that up for recruitment.
Okay.
So we expect that in the next week, hopefully. It just depends on when it posts.
Okay.
And then that person will hopefully be on board soon. I can also report that our senior park planner is now on board as well. And so his first day was this Monday or last Monday? Last Monday. So we've got parts and pieces. He will be doing other things as well, but he'll also be advising on the airport project.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Any other questions, comments? I really appreciate the clarity of this document. It feels like a North Star, and yeah, I know I'll be returning to it, and I expect others will as well.
It's going in my binder.
Well, I have to acknowledge Celios and Amber for putting the information together and weaving it into a,
Thank
you know,
you. Thank
good document.
Okay, great. All right, let's move on to item 8B, other city boards and commission. A very brief update on this. I will say that not much has moved forward since last month. There are calls and emails out trying to move forward with some conversations regarding coordination with other Santa Monica boards and commissions, and the pathways that we talked about last time still exist, which are a little more informal. I really appreciate the public comment about this tonight. But that's all the update that we have at the moment. Does anybody have any questions? And we'll ask for public comment if people have anything to say on this item. Okay. Ally, do we have any requests for public comment on this item, 8B, other than the one that we already had, which I realize is a little repetitive?
No request
Okay.
to speak.
Great.
I was just going to echo what you said. I think the comments earlier about the coordination between the various commissions, if possible, and particularly including, for example, a liaison, I think is an outstanding suggestion, because I do think there needs to be that coordination between the two primary commissions that have arguably the most interest in this project at this point. There will be others, but to the extent that that could be coordinated, because I know that you folks are going back and forth between the commissions, but I know a lot of the people here have not met the people on the Parks and Recs Commission, and we probably do need to try to coordinate that. So we will redouble our efforts to keep working on that.
So I have a technical question. Maybe this is for you, Ivan. If we wanted to, say, assign a liaison from the Airport Commission to the Parks and Rec, and understanding all of the kind of guardrails around that, like we'd make a motion to do that, and or is that something more informal?
Assuming that you'd want to have a discussion amongst yourselves about who would be the liaison, the only way you could have that discussion would be at this meeting.
Right.
You could make that vote. You can nominate someone to be the liaison. That person could go and attend that meeting.
Right.
So you're essentially doubling the workload of the lucky liaison. Or maybe you could alternate, for 3 months, this person's a liaison and the next, so quarterly, something like that. No more than 2 people could go at that.
Okay.
And I don't see a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could have a liaison and an alternate, and both of them could go, or if somebody couldn't make it.
At
another
that point, you can just create an ad hoc committee.
Okay.
And that way they can come and report back anything interesting happened at that Parks and Recs meeting.
Okay.
Another alternative would be you could attend the Parks and Recs meeting in your capacity as citizens.
Yep.
I don't advise all of you to go and do that.
Right.
If possible, to definitely avoid that. But you're also citizens, and you can, attend public places, and at the very minimum, not discuss airport commission matters if you're together as individuals at another city meeting.
Right.
So
Can I ask a clarifying question? So, but in order to have such a discussion, we'd have to agendize it
that's correct.
more specifically, or not? Like, is this?
You can't do it today.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I see we just need to put something a little bit more specific than what we have right now.
Yes, the public may want to come here and say, we think Joe Patel should be the liaison, so we want to make sure our
Right, it has to be
agendas.
more
right.
clearly agendized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could we, do we have to move to do that, to agendize it?
I mean,
we just have
you could, or
to.
Diane could
Yeah.
work with
Yeah. We could just put it on
Diana,
the agenda.
and put it on the agenda.
Right,
So-
so if I remember correctly, just to clarify the record, this item was developed as an ad hoc committee to discuss this.
Right.
Beyond this, we're gonna create a new item that you're gonna tell me what that looks like. We're gonna put it on the agenda so the public knows exactly what it is, and then we go from there.
If there's already an ad hoc committee, I mean, that could be,
ad hoc committee can discuss it. We'll put it
you guys are kind of like the de facto liaison if you want
This
to
is true.
do it
Right.
like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say, can we just say, when we've already got the ad hoc committee?
Right.
Why can't we just say the ad hoc committee should be the liaison? I mean, it just seems like it's kind of the same thing.
I agree, but
Assuming
I don't
that-
have a vote. I'm just
But
saying
I'm
that
just
you're
saying,
right.
like, we can say that tonight? Question mark?
I don't, you've already created the
Right.
ad hoc committee. You don't need to take a vote saying that they need to go to a,
Right. You can select, so the ad hoc committee, for example, can start this. We just need to change the language of the item itself to be more clearly defined of what they're doing. But to your point, yes.
That's what I'm trying to get to is, if tonight our current ad hoc committee members were willing to be the 2 liaisons, do we need to agendize another item at a future meeting to have, you don't think so?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I'm trying to shortcut
Thank you.
this a little bit to cut through the
Okay.
red tape as much as we can.
Okay.
Let's just do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
When's the next Parks and Rec meeting?
Doing that.
All right.
All right. Very good. Lucky liaisons. All right. Very good.
Thank you, liaisons.
All right. Moving on to item 8C, the Douglas Day event.
So we said we're going to leave that item on to start reporting on the event that was brought to our attention by a group of individuals. There was a meeting done earlier this week, and what we're asking is give us the application to know exactly what you're doing. There's a lot of ideas behind it that includes more than just aircraft. I just want us to formulate in the application of a permit application so we can look at it and then come back to you and let you know what it is.
All right. Do we have any requests for public comment on item 8C?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this item for Stelios? I realize we lost Commissioner Pertel. Yeah. So just to summarize, what we know so far is that this item, this Douglas Day event is going to be similar to what happened last year. We're awaiting the application. This is not a city-sponsored event.
It is not a city-sponsored event.
And the primary person who's spearheading it is Ben
Marcus is the one that is spearing.
Marcus, thank you, who is a tenant and a community member.
That is correct.
Okay, great.
So in
And-
addition to, just to clarify, is what happened last year is the same location as last year. We identified that. In addition to that, they were trying to get electric aircraft to come in, including some eVTOLs. That is still in question. That is not verified yet. I'm just letting you know what the conversation is about.
Right. And they had aircraft there last year.
They did.
I'm not recalling if there was any electric aircraft last
No,
year.
they were not. So they were asking through a last-minute request to bring military aircraft. There's several ones.
Military.
There were several ones that they requested, and we denied it for several reasons. So this time around, the band came to us early enough, and I agreed that let's have the conversation early if you're going to have it again, so we don't have any last-minute request where we have to scramble and deny those requests. Let me
I
know
see.
exactly what it is ahead of time, so we'll know exactly what we're doing.
So you're awaiting those requests, and this is in September, you said September 27th?
September 22nd. is the-
22nd?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
We asked for the permit application that defines what everything is.
And-
They don't have everything yet
Great.
aligned, that's why they can submit.
Okay. And last year, as I recall, there were like big blue buses giving tours around. Okay,
That is correct.
okay. And just out of curiosity, are those, does the city provide those or?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
The DOT provided the big blue bus, I believe I don't think they charge for it. And one of my staff members is on the bus, of course, to make sure that the bus doesn't veer into a runway.
Okay. Okay. And is there an expectation that that will be done again? There will be tours of the airport and,
I believe they will try to do that again. I don't have a confirmation yet, but I believe it will be.
okay, okay. Okay, and as I recall, last year they used the city's ramp and the aviation, no, they did not?
No, the entire event was held on Atlantic Aviation's ramp.
Right,
They have to enter into an agreement with Atlantic Aviation to do that. It's leased to Atlantic Aviation.
okay.
So that's where they're doing it again this year.
And what would need to happen for them to bring eVTOLs to the airport? Like, what are you said they're wanting to do that. Are they
Yes.
just wanting to have them there for people to view?
They want to fly them.
They want to fly them
So the only way we fly out of the airport is through a normal operation. So there is
through us, sorry.
a normal operation. It happens all the time. Oh, yeah, you reminded me to stay away from the mic. Thank you.
Sorry.
So I'll sit back here. Yes, we did we're both doing the same
I
thing.
know, yes.
So basically what happens is we have requests for aircraft to come to events all the time. The only way that happens is if they follow a normal flight path to land and depart. I know of one electric aircraft that has flown in different airports through a normal operation. That's one of the aircraft that they're discussing of bringing. eVTOLs, for example, I don't know of any of them that have operated in a Class Delta airspace that we have through our own conditions. So I know they are flight testing them in several airports that are remote, but I don't know if they have FAA certification or permission to fly on a normal path to an airport. That is what I need to get to make sure that this can happen or not. If they get waivers from the FAA to conduct a normal operation, then there's no path for the city to say no. But if that is not there in place, then we can allow an operation that is unsafe or probably could be unsafe at the airport.
Would you clarify what would those waivers be for?
Yeah, it happens all the time. So for the pier, there is waivers that there will be parachuting happening
Okay.
next to the pier.
Okay,
That goes through a channel of the federal government, FAA, that sends those approvals through.
right. But this would be specifically related to the electric aircraft or the eVTOLs.
That specific aircraft operator has to get a waiver to fly within Class Delta airspace to land at an airport.
Okay. Okay. So as of right now, eVTOLs and electric aircraft are not allowed to fly at Santa Monica Airport.
I can't make that statement.
Okay.
As far as I know, I don't know any eVTOLs that can fly into an airspace and land at Santa Monica. I might be wrong, but my knowledge, for example, Joby cannot.
Okay.
They don't have that authorization to do so.
Okay.
They've done flights in the heliport in New York through special permissions.
I see.
But I don't know that they can come into their airport and land. I believe it's the same with Archer. I don't believe they have a path to get here and land in an airport right now. I think they're talking 2025.
And is that because the aircraft itself is experimental or not classified or not?
There are several experimental aircraft that fly normally in
Right.
in the airspace.
Right.
The reason as to why they cannot fly, they don't have permission to fly over, I believe, congested airspace
Okay.
or congested neighborhood. That's my understanding. I can look further into it and come back and report. That's what I know up to now.
Okay. Just wanting to understand what staging and demonstration would look like.
They can they can track them in and bring them to they can do that.
Right.
I don't know if they're willing, the operators are willing to do that or not. I have no idea.
Okay. Any other questions about the Douglas Day event?
I apologize because I stepped off for a moment.
Yeah.
Has there been any request? Oh, I'm sorry. And this goes back to, I mentioned it last time, sponsorship, sort of the city's imprint on this.
There is no city sponsorship on that event. The city is not sponsoring the Douglas event as of today.
Has there been any request? I mean, what I might ask is if, I'd like to keep this on the agenda, and if for any reason there's a request from any of the commercial operators out there for city funds or city sponsorship, that it just be made public and that it come, I think it should be brought through the airport commission.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
If the commission as a body does not want an event like this one to become city-sponsored event, you can make a recommended action to move it forward. I could just take, if you want me to come back and report, how do I know anybody, if they want any commercial event or any commercial operator wanted the city to sponsor it, I'll be happy to do it. But it doesn't mean I know everything that is happening within the airport that they're going to come to me directly for me to
Right,
know.
they could go to city
They
council.
could go to, they can go to the specific department and request, and that department might say, sure, I'll come and sponsor it. But I'll be happy to come back and report to you anything that is known to me that they're asking for city sponsorship.
I'm going to ask you this. I mean, if we were to take a vote on that, that's not on the agenda tonight. Would you suggest that we need to agenda, like if we, for example, if we were to entertain a motion to vote on whether we would recommend to the city whether to support such an event financially, would that be something that we?
I think you can do that because the Douglas Day event is on the agenda.
Oh, it is. So we don't have to. Okay.
And that's because there wasn't specifically a surprise presentation, right? Because that's what happened last time was the concern. It was a standing item and we had an update. And then there was also, it said update, but we had a presentation. That was the concern. The last time, right?
Don't recall.
Okay.
As long as-
That's the,
As long as your mic's on and you say that that we're fine.
Because
Yes, I think you're fine.
Okay, thank you.
personally, I would like to do so, but I would want to make sure that we've all had a chance to sort of think through what that would look like. I personally would like to do that at some point, have that discussion to see whether we should take a position on that, because I do think it implicates efforts to close the airport. It strikes me that there could be a scenario where an action was taken that would be inconsistent with the city's prior declarations about closure. I just want to make sure that we're very careful, or the city's very careful, and they know where the airport commission stands. So whether we do it today or some future date, I think we should at least discuss it.
why don't we keep this on the agenda?
Yeah, I
For
think maybe
for
next meeting we should discuss.
Okay. Let's move on, if there are no other comments on this item, to number 9, staff administrative items, A, airport leases.
Yeah, I mean, the report is shown on the board. I wanted to correct my staff. I just saw it today and I apologize for that. There's 3 businesses there that there's depicted, 2 of them that are depicted as offices. Actually, 3 of them, they're not offices, they're flight schools. So let's call them what they are. So Proteus Air Services, Santa Monica Flyers, and Sling Flying Club. Those 3 are flight schools, and it's going to be changed in the next meeting if they're still in progress or completed. So whatever they're going to lie, that's what they're going to be represented as.
Any clarifying questions for Stelios on this item?
I just have a quick question on TAS aircraft sales.
Which ones?
The executed one for TAS aircraft sales. Were they an existing tenant?
Yeah, they've been there before I came here, I believe.
Thanks.
And the aircraft sales is an office, not a. the
Office
TAS.
and tie downs, yes. They have some
Tie-downs.
tie downs. Where
Okay.
they store.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any requests to speak on this item?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion before we move on? All right, moving on to item 9B, monthly fuel flowage report.
So I will dissect this report this item into 2. I would like to speak on number B1 first. The report is there, it's self-explanatory. If you have any questions, let me answer them now, and then I'll go to the 2 through 5 and give you a quick understanding why I put it there. A quick explanation why I put it there. So in an effort to educate and inform the commission relating to unleaded fuel, there is a lot of things happening with unleaded fuel, right? But nothing has changed, meaning that 94 is the only one that has, 94 UL is the only one that has supplemental type certificate. There is a fuel that is out there that has another STC for 100 unleaded, but is not commercially available right now. We could get it here, but we can't guarantee their distribution network. It doesn't guarantee I can get it every single time. It does not guarantee that the standard that the mixology of the standard of what it is, what is in there. I don't even know. We don't know the insurance behind it. There's no set insurance that is provided by the manufacturer, right? But because I want to backtrack and provide something to the commission for understanding purposes, back in, was it 2013, the Center of Environmental Health has sued the fixed-based operators under Prop 65 for leaded fuel. At that time that it was settled, there were Prop 65 signs positioned in many, many airports, right? It was a requirement in California. As a follow-up on that, and that is attached within this report, the attorney representing them put notice on the aviation FBOs, they use the aerodynamic aviation and all, to put them on notice that an commercially available fuel, G100UL, is commercially available. In the packet as well, there is a response by the industry to the attorney saying, well, we begged you wrong. There is fuel, but it's not commercially available. And they actually used, I don't know if you saw it, but the attachment in their response is the FAA's letter to us. It's funny, but that's what it is. So I wanted to bring, that's where we are right now. Nothing changed from there. Also, NATA produced a white paper of the issues surrounding the unleaded fuel. So there's a number of them. One is the standard that I just described. Two is if you just yank leaded fuel from the entire infrastructure of the airports to the aircraft, you're going to leave a portion of aircraft that cannot fly. And that's the reality of it. The third piece that is not part of it, and I have to speak to you about, is we know that unleaded fuel could be commingled or mixed with leaded. And everyone that is tested for that. One thing that we don't know is, can they commingle with each other? Can an unleaded from G100UL commingle with Swift's 100R? I don't know. And none of them, of the manufacturers of the fuel, will provide you with a certification to use it. Actually, they're going to tell you, do not commingle those two fuels. So if we have a fuel that is, quote unquote, commercially available, like G100UL, and it comes to the industry right now, and let's say Swift comes out at the same time, they're both here, and I have Swift, and Van Nuys have G100UL, pilots would not skip airports to where they're going to go. Plus, you still have a percentage of the fleet of aircraft out there that cannot get fuel. So that is what is happening right now. There is one bill at the House in the state brought by a representative that is representing San Fernando Valley that is asking to eliminate 100 low lead in certain airports based on their demographics. That is floating around right now. I just came to my attention. I'm just keep looking at it. I'm just looking at it to see what we can do or if we cannot. So that's where the industry is right now. So I wanted to bring a quick update to the commission about that.
Yeah, I also want to add one thing. I believe it already passed the U.S. Senate, but pending in the House is the FAA reauthorization bill. And that legislation specifically addresses airport operators' ability to restrict leaded fuel. It seeks, I believe, to codify limits on the ability of an airport operator to do such a thing, as opposed to leaving it as just interpretation of a compliance regulatory provision. So the legislation hasn't passed; it's still pending, but we're following it.
Would you bring that to us when it passes
when it becomes law?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems important. Yeah. Any clarifying questions for Stelios?
Just thank you. That was super helpful to understand.
Your mic is not on. I do have a question. I'm trying to stand back, yeah. I realize that the words commercially available are very confusing. Do you see a meaningful pathway to a shared understanding of what commercially available actually means that the industry can agree to so that we avoid like, what looks like kind of almost like a gridlock, right?
That's a very good point, actually. And yes, many operators and airport sponsors and the industry have been mulling over what that commercially available is. We have a definition that we would like to go through where it says if it can be distributed, if it can be delivered every single time I order it, if it has some form of a certification that can go onto an aircraft and can be commingled. And if you have all that, right, and you have insurance behind it in a specific standard, that to me is commercially available. Now, is it through an STC or through a certification of the FAA? I don't think that matters. And I think that California will test that definition sooner than later, because California is getting a lot of pressure by a lot of airports because of the municipalities and the communities around them, that we need to be ahead of it. We can't wait until 2030. And you representatives of California have to do something. I mean, we're looking at one bill that is going forward right now that is basically saying by 2026, some airports do not have leaded fuel. That's the bill. And that is a significant pressure. We do believe, I truly believe, that we are going to have an unleaded fuel that fuels the entire industry before 2030.
Before
2030,
Yeah.
I really, really believe that's going to happen.
I just want to ask, we lose Commissioner Pertel again? Okay. I just want to ask our commissioners, because we do have a pending FAA and NATA panel. Well,
Coming down afterwards. I agendized it.
Oh, yeah? You have
So
a
it's
date?
agendized, so I'll speak to it right
Oh,
now.
okay, great. But like, file away these questions, because we will get to talk to them and ask these questions. So Commissioner Pertel, welcome back. I was just asking everybody to kind of hold in mind the questions related to this with regard to the FAA and NATA panel on unleaded fuel that will be forthcoming. Do we want to move to public comment here? Is there any request for public comment on this item? No.
No.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments before we move on from this item? Okay, well, we're going to move from fuel flowage to ramp electrification, which seems a beautifully ironic pivot. So back to you, Stelios.
So you asked me that any time that any information comes in any electrification of any RAMs or any ideas that I bring it in front of you. So this is the first one.
Thank you.
So Atlantic Aviation has a team that looks at alternative fuels infrastructure to their entire network of airports. What that means is not just electrification of RAMs, which is a leading path forward, but it's also sustainable Jet A, unleaded fuel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So this is a team that is tasked to do that. We had a meeting, I think about between our last meeting and this one, okay? And their proposal is, we want to electrify the RAM. I'm like, okay. So what we asked them to do is provide us a proposal how to do that. We are waiting for them to come back to us. We haven't got any response back, but they're going to go back and come back to us with a proposal to electrify the ramp. This does not require any investment from the city, because we're clear we're not investing. There is no lease concessions in any way or form relating to this infrastructure, so it's going to be in their own expense, and they do understand that. And that's where it is. That's the whole
Okay.
conversation.
Would there be easements, anything from the city that would be requested?
No, there's no easements. We also mentioned to them that we don't know what power is available on the street. We don't know. First of all, I don't even know what amount of power do they need, let alone know how much power the street has. So the way the leasehold is under the holdover right now, they're in a portion of a building, which is their lobby and pilot lounge, and a ramp and an auxiliary ramp, which is in front of Cloverfield. So they want to electrify some place on their main ramp to provide the access to, one, eVTOLs, and two, to any electric aircraft that come onto the airport to fuel.
Okay. I have a few questions. Does anybody else have any questions around this? And then we'll ask for public comment. Do they have an estimate of what this would cost?
No.
Do we have an estimate of what this would cost?
What I have is drawings to provide additional EV chargers on the parking lot, on both the north side, which is Atlantic Aviation, and the south side, which is the airport administration building.
You're talking about automobiles?
Automobiles.
Okay,
All I have is that design.
okay,
I don't think my team has costed yet to even know what that looks like.
okay.
I don't think we went to Edison to see if enough power is there. We designed the parking lot. So I'm thinking that for aircraft, to be able to fuel quickly and turn around quickly in the case of eVTOLs,
Right.
they need significant power.
Sure.
But I can't tell you right now what that looks like or what it costs.
Right. And so, per our previous conversation about eVTOLs and electric aircraft and Class Delta airspace, and the closure of the airport, the anticipated closure of the airport, December 31st, 2028,
Yes.
tick-tock.
And then hold on, you missed one.
Okay.
Not a long-term agreement either.
And no long-term agreement. Who benefits? And, well, you said last time, I believe you said this would be a 12 to 18-month project? No?
No, what I said is 12 to 18 months. Knowing from our experiences, it takes 12 to 18 months the time to submit to Southern California Edison to get a
Okay.
power upgrade.
Okay,
So that's what I said the last.
okay. So that would be the minimum amount of time to actually get this accomplished, right?
That's minimum. Once you apply for it,
Right,
it would be longer than that because
okay.
it would
So,
have to figure out what you wanted to apply
right,
for.
so maybe 2026, maybe?
Maybe. If what it point about the infrastructure itself, I don't have a proposal, so I couldn't even tell you if it's 26.
Okay, all right. So, have they shared their rationale? What's their reasoning behind this?
Well, I know that Atlantic is in the forefront of electrifying a number of locations in their infrastructure to bring and partner with the next generation of fuel. I call it fuel, or the next iteration of technology. I personally am not fully convinced that eVTOLs will be able to be certified, flown with routes developed by the federal government, approved, and have people flown from point A to point B with the timeline that they're saying of 2025. I don't believe that's going to happen.
Okay,
That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
And my professional opinion, looking at what the industry can do
okay,
and how quickly they can move.
okay,
I think they're betting that this is the location and the area that is more beneficial to the eVTOL industry as a whole, and LA Basin is one of them. San Francisco is another. New York is another. So the major large cities having this type of transportation to transport people from point A to point B to avoid the traffic
right,
is one of their models. They're also in looking in Dubai and other areas that have this type of infrastructure to allow them to do what they need to do.
Did I ask for public comment? I'm not,
Not yet.
I don't think so. Do we have any requests for public comment?
Yes, we have one request
Okay,
to speak.
thank you. I'm going to pause before I ask any more questions.
Joe Schmitz, you have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Why ever would people think we're not going to close the airport when we're building infrastructure and adding flight schools? And our betters may prefer that to land at SMO with an electric taxi if that comes to pass. Atlantic Aircraft Aviation, something you ought to know. About 2 years ago, Atlantic had 70 FBOs. They were purchased by KKR Private Equity for $4.47 billion, assumed debt and organizational obligations. KKR added that to their 200 that they bought, and they've got over 300 now. I don't know if the city is subsidizing or planned or would subsidize Atlantic in terms of the electrification, but I would ask, why the hell is the city doing it, for starters? Atlantic is tied to the failure of the Airport Commission's 5 recommendations of the City Council to stop city tanks or city equipment from fueling unleaded gas. And it's kind of bizarre when you think about it, because, and you can see a misleading FAA letter that says, "Oh my, we're gonna bust you if you do that." But when you read it closely, it has it conflates the city using its own equipment to provide unleaded fuel with restricting
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schmitz. Are there other requests to speak?
No,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you. Stelios, one question I have is, how is electrification of the ramp related to, or approval of electrification of the ramp related to minimum standards, the leasing policy, and the consent decree?
Do we want to discuss it now, or where we have the minimum standards afterwards?
We can bookmark it, but
Can I discuss it now or later?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So what I have in front of me has nothing to do about a leasehold. It all has to do is about a request by tenant to do what they're trying to do. The previous request from Joby and others has to do about a prospective tenant at the airport that is asking specific information. Without an application or a business plan, it doesn't lead to leasing policy or minimum standards, right? Once the business model comes in front of me with the application, if you look at the leasing policy and the minimum standards, it defines what the process is. This is just an exploratory idea that they want to do at the airport. They came to us when we listened to the first one, which was better, I think. I said, well, since the city's going to expend money to put all these electric EV chargers, if you're going to do this, can you look at us and provide us, instead of the city spending money, for you to do ours too? We're going to pay somebody else to do it. You can do it for us. But it has nothing to do with leasing an aeronautical activity under the minimum standards. That has nothing to do with any of this. Atlantic is a current tenant of the airport under a holdover agreement. They're asking us, they want to increase their electric capacity to their location that they currently are. That's what they ask us.
I'm sorry, did you just say that they said to you, maybe we can pay you to do it?
No, the other way around. We asked them, since we have a plan to provide EV chargers
For cars.
for cars,
Right.
could you, when you're looking at all this, if I hand you the plans, can you do ours too? If you're gonna go all the way over there eventually in the future, maybe you can do ours too. Instead of paying somebody else, I can get it from you in a lot cheaper since you're gonna be pulling the power. The power comes from one location. It has to go through our parking lot. That doesn't mean we're gonna do that. I wanna see if it's a proposal from you that makes sense from the city. Now, that has nothing to do with a leasing or a minimum standard. It has nothing to do with that.
Yes, this is a tenant requesting to do something with this premises under its lease agreement. That's it.
Right.
And Stelios, as the landlord, has to approve it.
Right.
But he has no plans in front of him, so
don't
he
have
can't
anything
give
in
he
front
can't
of
give them an answer.
Right, right. So, right. I guess my question is that I'm trying to think of an analogy. If you were just talking about the unleaded fuel that is not commercially available and not really viable because of this gridlock, right? If they said, we wanted to have a tank for Swift Fuel or GAMI.
Yes.
Okay? We want to build that,
Yes,
even though it's not commercially available yet or viable and gridlock exists.
my response was give me a proposal. Let me
Give
look
me
at
a
it.
give me a proposal.
Let me look at it.
Okay.
Let's see how it fits within the infrastructure of the airport, how that impacts the entire airport operations of the airport, where you're going to have that activity, how does it conflict with other activities on the airport,
Right.
and then how do you want to proceed doing it, right? What, within if I give you 3-year term, which is the max I can give for aeronautical activity, if I give you 3 years, or the minimum I can give if I give you 3 years, the airport is closing, to your point, in December 31st, 2028. We're not going to go beyond that. We're not going to pay in any way or form as a city to give you any subsidy to do this or any concessions to do that. How is that going to do that? If you're willing to do that and you meet all the requirements of it, we're talking about unleaded fuel, and you can put the tank, the fire department will approve it, everything is okay, then yes, it's an aeronautical activity that can happen at the airport. That is correct.
But let me extend the analogy a little
Okay,
bit.
go ahead.
Forgive me. If the unleaded fuel is not actually safe to put in aircraft right now, using that analogy, right? Because they can't refuel at Riverside or what have you, because they don't have a tank, right?
Right.
So it's not actually, and you can't mix it. So it's not actually safe necessarily to fly with it yet, right?
They're not flying it. They said, I'm going to put it down here and put that fuel in that nobody's going to fuel from. I'm just going to put it there. When it becomes available, then I can fuel it.
Okay.
So the fueling piece, to plug it into somebody else, it's a different conversation. It's talking about an infrastructure upgrade on an airport relating to a fuel. That's all it is.
So you can build and one can approve infrastructure on electrification for aircraft that have not actually been approved to or certified to fly yet?
If somebody wants to bring power to the ramp, let's assume we have all this. I don't even know.
Okay.
This is a puzzle. These
Okay.
supposals. I can't speak to this. I need a proposal in front of me, because if you look at the minimum standards, there's specific things that says where the airport director has to look at before he makes a decision that he meets the minimum standards. That is a clear step-by-step that I look and my staff look before we bring anything in front of you
Okay.
for a COP approval.
So
That's
nothing gets approved. A ramp does not get electrified until there's a proposal.
until there's a proposal that the landlord, as the airport sponsor, the city, has to review and approve.
And then that proposal would have to meet the minimum standards.
Has to meet the minimum standards.
And then, to be clear, I think we're also saying that the city's not paying for any of, for any of this upgrade. It's not subsidized by the city.
I'm just wondering about that, though, because, say, for example, if we say, look, we're going to pay you to put in our charges at the same time, right? And at the same time you're putting in yours, we can pay you to put in ours at the same time. I think that's
No. So let me rephrase that so you can understand.
Okay.
So there is a
that is a subsidy.
That
would be a subsidy because it would lessen their
I
cost as
understand.
well.
So let me thank you for bringing it up.
Okay,
Let
because
me
I want to know
clarify.
what was the proposal? What would we be doing, asking them to do?
There is a company, there's several companies out there that they put EV chargers in.
Right.
And you as a client, it's free of cost to the city.
Right.
They put it on our parking lots. They come in and you, as an individual, come in and charge your amount. We get a portion of that and they get the remainder, right? That's the same concept. Can you, because the way we were planning to do it is find a company to pay for the infrastructure, right? Instead of us dishing it out of our pockets, to have somebody else pay for it to put the EV chargers for vehicles. If you're gonna do all this work, here's the plans that we know what it looks like. If you do what you're proposing to do, when your proposal comes in front of us, are you willing to do this for us? So I don't have to go and find somebody else to do it. Look at their proposal. If it's competitive, maybe we'll consider it. It has nothing to do about the city paying, subsidizing in any way or form their infrastructure improvements.
I would love to, when you get to that point, I would really love to have you folks share that with the commission.
There's no problem to share.
Before it gets too far in the process. Because what I'm worried about is anything that would give the appearance that it's subsidizing something that some commissioners believe is not in the interest of Measure LC and tentative plans or whatever you want to call it to close the airport.
I'll make a statement.
Okay.
And I'll make a commitment.
Please.
I'll be as transparent as possibly I can for any such proposals in front of the commission first.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you, Stelios. Do you have a comment?
I have a question that's about electrification at the airport. This morning, Ben Wang emailed all the city council members and I believe all the commissioners a PDF of a design with Southern California Edison to bring what looks like a 16 kilovolt charging or power for aircraft, not cars, to the south side of the airport.
No. Okay.
And so it's a 2-page PDF, and maybe we should get this in the packet next month.
Maybe let me look at it and then I'll respond.
Because
Right there.
I think that's our plans. It's not an aircraft.
it's for the city.
We
It's the
would
city's
have to put that
plans.
on the agenda before we get into a.
So,
No, I
yeah,
can
so we can get it on the
respond
agenda. I want to ask a question, though. So the most recent date on this document, as far as I can tell, is February 9th, 2023, so just last year. And so this looks to be a plan working with the city, not a tenant, like Philip Tikkun, who is staff, his name's on this document. So I'm wondering who is planning for aircraft charging at the south side of the airport in the city?
We were. We as a city, we had the request of, there's aircraft coming, electric aircraft coming, can we put a charger at and a hangar so these aircraft can charge? So we're looking at the feasibility if that's possible. That's all that is. This is Philip Tikkun, is that what it says on it? It's the.
We're gonna have to cut this discussion short.
Okay, let's just put on.
Okay,
It's
let's
not-
put it on the
it hasn't
agenda.
been agendized.
Sorry. Put it on the agenda. I'll be happy to answer.
Okay.
So it's not going to fall under Atlantic Aviation Ramp.
No.
Like it's going to fall under
Electrification of the airport.
by the city of Santa Monica that we didn't know about. That
It-
wherever we want to call it.
I think it's electrification of the airport, which was, right? Electrification
We
at the
can
airport.
discuss what we looked at in bringing electric power to airport, to the south side of the airport. I'll be happy to agendize that.
For aviation, though.
That's, yes,
For-
for aviation.
Okay, for aviation, okay.
And to be fair, I did propose an item like that on this agenda, and I withdrew it after I saw the Atlantic Aviation Ramp electrification, so, yeah, we can.
I even forgot about this, but yeah,
Okay.
I understand.
All right,
Let's put that on.
It was a lifetime ago.
we're gonna move on. Thank you. Looking at the time, it's getting late, and we are moving on to item 9D, proposed aeronautical rates and charges.
The reason that that item is there is because I wanted to tell the commission that we're gonna have a special meeting, and we have another item. Currently, it's gonna be we scheduled the meeting on May 22nd, to bring the item in front of the commission before it goes to budget study session on March 28th. So we're re-evaluating the rates and charges for the airport, and we'll come and propose, show them the results of that study.
And that is on May 22nd now?
It's on the next special meeting on May 22nd, so when we reach item F, we'll have a discussion of what date should it be if it's not May 22nd.
I see. Okay. Very good. Do we have any requests for public comment on this item?
Yes, ma'am. Joe Schmitz, you have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
I'm not so sure I'm a believer. Is this on? Yeah, it is. Okay. I'm not so sure I'm a believer in the transparency bit. In 2000, the voters demanded the city council increase the noise code violation fee to match inflation. So it went from $500 to $2,000, and of course, with the change code, the fines escalated. It's long overdue to increase the fines for this century. That would be about another 81%. So $2,000 would be on the order of $3,700. If the city's going to increase aviation fees, certainly it ought to increase aviation fines, but that's been a no-go. Is the city going to increase landing fees? And if so, why not? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Schmitz.
Thank you.
Comments, questions on this item? All right, let's move on. Item 9E, the Federal Aviation Administration unleaded fuel presentation postponed.
So Diana, to her credit, has been trying to get the Federal Aviation Administration and ATA to meet on tonight's meeting. We received confirmation from NATA pretty quickly. FAA just gave us the confirmation on Monday. The agenda is already prepared. I wasn't prepared to come in to marshal this meeting or to liaison this meeting in any way or form. We regrettably would love to have them. We apologize to them, so we're trying to find them. We're looking at the June date right now of Airport Commission. You mentioned something before about questions. We send an invitation for a number of people to provide a question, including the commission. We have a set of questions, so we're going to start reviewing them. I'll be happy to liaison with you, Chair, so we can formulate that and how the meeting should go, who's going to panel it, and so forth and so forth and so forth. So it gives us time. Maybe we can do it now. So if the last minute they say, yes, we can do it, then the next time we could, right? So I want to make sure that we do that.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any requests to speak on this item?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay. Moving on to the next Airport Commission meeting, item 9F, and it looks like,
Okay.
yeah.
Got it. So we have a quorum for May 22nd, but only by 3 commissioners. We tried to find an alternative location to do this. The only other date before the meeting with council, May 28th, and this is going to be a special meeting, is May 16th at the SMI room. If that date doesn't work, we're looking at the only other location we could do it is the Museum of Flying. I can have the meeting there. I prefer not to. I prefer having it at the SMI room on the 16th if that's possible. So could we, right now, find out if your availability is a lot easier than sending 17 emails?
Great.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's the purpose I put May 22nd.
I'm a thumbs up.
I'm good. 16th, either one.
I can do the 16th.
That is a Thursday
Yes,
at 7 PM.
correct. I would love to have it at 4, but that's not.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Pertel,
Likely,
a likely Commissioner Neri,
Okay.
Commissioner Reynolds, Commissioner Wilder.
Sounds-
Looking good.
Sounds like it's good.
It looks like we're good.
All right.
3 weeks.
Okay, and that will be a special meeting just for the item 9D, correct?
Yes,
So it'll be one item.
that will be one item.
Okay,
that's all.
I'm liking that a lot. Okay,
It's 2 weeks away.
okay.
Are we still going to have the meeting on the 22nd as well then?
No. So the actual meeting is actually the Memorial Day.
Right.
Right.
Therefore, that's why the next meeting will be in June.
Okay, so we'll skip our regular May meeting then.
It,
Do we have other business we want to include then on the 16th, since we won't have the meeting on the 28th or whatever?
We may want to get to that because it is getting late, and I was going to ask if we want to push the remaining items.
Can I, so we could add another item. The problem is SMI has a hard closure at 10 o'clock. We have to be out of there at 10 o'clock,
Okay.
not here.
No, I
Next
understand.
meeting.
I'm trying to get us out here by 9, so we're almost there.
I have one request of staff. I know this is difficult, but I know the notification for regular meetings is 72 hours, or for the agenda.
Special meeting.
And for special meetings is 24. Particularly when we do have a large packet like this, only having 24 hours in the middle of the week especially is very challenging for us. There was a lot of material to read through on this. And, we're all working too as volunteers. So I know it's hard because you guys are scrambling and have a lot of work, but if it's at all possible to not, to give us a little more lead time with the packets, even for a special meeting, whenever possible, I think that would be really helpful.
Noted.
Thank you.
Yeah, if we could, I have the same comment, if we could exceed the minimum standards, if you will, the 24-hour turnaround, I think that would be really, really helpful. Okay, so,
Can we add Santa Monica?
yes,
Yes. I'm good. If we can add the Santa Monica City.
we've
add this-
already, I think we already did.
We already did,
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
I was just going to add the City of Santa Monica
Oh, yes.
electrification.
So you want that in the next meeting?
If we could, yeah, thanks.
So we have 2 more items on the agenda, of which there's a lot of material, and at least for 13A. And I have a question. Do we want to consider postponing item 13A to that special meeting, where we have a little more time to look at the minimum standards and leasing policy?
Yes.
And come better prepared for some questions for Stelios and observe
Yes.
the meeting?
No.
So we need, so we need a motion to do that, yes?
You would just need to make sure there's no public comment on the item before you
Okay, very good.
postpone it or
Thank
table
you.
it.
Do we have any requests to speak on item 13A?
No, ma'am.
Then we don't need a motion, or we do need a
We
motion?
still need that.
Table it? Yes, you need a motion.
Okay. Do we have a motion to table the,
I move to postpone discussion, item 13A to our next special meeting of May 16th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to table item 13A by Commissioner Griffin, seconded by Commissioner Wilder. Can we have a voice vote to approve that item? All in favor?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
And we have approved the tabling of item 13A to the next meeting on the 16th by a unanimous voice vote. Okay, I think we can close this out. Item 13B is with regard to city-sponsored events at the airport. And I had asked to have this on the agenda to just have a clarification between, what city-sponsored events are versus other kinds of events. And I'm wondering if maybe we can shorthand this, since it's late. If you'd be willing to, Stelios, to share a little bit about what the difference is and an example of, like, an open house that occurred 11 years ago.
Right. So the city has a policy, internal policy describing the difference between city-produced, city co-produced, city-sponsored, and non-city events. Okay, so non-city events is these events that are produced by non-city organizations, period. So for the airport specific, because that's what we're discussing today, events are like Freeze or People's Choice Awards or any other events that are held at the Barker Hangar, the Museum of Flying. Those events follow a specific process where the individual location or the organization comes to the city and says, I want to hold an event on those specific dates. We go through a process that we look at availability, the parking, the number of people, and then we hand them out a packet that they need to complete, and also the organization, the other city entities, they need to reach out if they need PD, fire, trash, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is a non-city event, okay? A city-produced is like it states. We develop it, we produce it, we put it out. Airport's arts event, for example, has been held in for years. That was a city-produced event. Co-produced, exactly what it sounds, is basically that the city partners with an entity, a non-city entity, and they hold an event. That is also, if it happens at the airport, that is also going to be, we're going to be part of the conversation. The airport will be part of it. And the permitting is different. It's not the same as we issue a permit, get all the fees, et cetera, et cetera. There will be several different understandings between what the fees are paid and not paid. On the city-sponsored event, that's what is interesting, is it could happen with a non-city entity. Basically, sponsorship, and I'll read it, sponsorship involves an agreement by the city to support a non-city event that reasonably relates to the government function that the department and division performs and advances the program or services of the supporting city departments divisions as defining goals, objectives, mission statements, or master plans. That's what a city-sponsored event is. I hope I clarified somewhat of what.
Very helpful.
Could you read that last part again? The advances the department.
And advances the programs or services of the supporting city department / division as defined in goals, objectives, mission statements, or master plans.
Is this on the city website somewhere?
No, but I can send you.
Administrative
It's
instruction.
administrative instruction, that's what it is.
Is that something you'd be willing to share with us?
Public
I think
document.
they're public documents.
Yeah, I can send it to you.
They can be sent to you.
That'd be great. Yeah, that would be.
And curious
Send it
about,
to you and distribute? I'll send it to you.
and curious about the open house that I'd heard about that was in 2013, which feels like a century ago.
That was a
What was-
city-produced.
That was a city-produced event. Okay. That was a city-produced event. All right.
Will you let us know if there's any contemplation of a city-sponsored event? Because that actually would require some consideration of, as you mentioned, the goals, mission statement, master plan. And so I think that, again, would be something that I think transparency would benefit from that.
Again, if it comes to my attention,
Yeah,
I'll be
something
happy
at the,
to-
if you could, that would, yeah. The other ones are less concerning because they're obvious, right?
Okay. I'll sleep better tonight. I have a sticky note that I meant to ask a question about earlier, and I'm not sure if I'm able to do this or not at the end of our agenda.
I missed that. What about the sticky note?
I have a sticky note that I had meant to attend to when we did the fuel flowage reports, which was the ask of, we're 5 months behind on noise reports.
That's not part of the, so I can.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That
that's
I can
fine.
address,
It's
yeah.
like out of order, but it's fine.
Thank you,
So,
sorry.
As I mentioned, I had the conversation with Diana before I came here. We had a number of staff on the operations side that prepared these reports that they were out. We're in the process of getting our consultant to do them for us,
Right.
because I only have 1.5 person currently in the office, and that one is Diana, and he has a lot of other responsibilities. So we believe that by the June meeting, that we should be able to produce all the reports going back from where we missed to now. That agenda, we'll send it ahead of time. But that's where we are. We truly apologize. It's not trying to withhold them. It's just we don't have the capacity right now to do it, unfortunately.
Okay, that's very helpful. I'm glad I remembered my sticky note. On that note, I think I probably should have asked for public comments on the city-sponsored events at the airport. I don't think I did. Were there any requests to speak on that item? Apologies.
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, on that note, I think we will move to adjourn at 9:06 PM, and a thank you to everyone for your participation.
Thank you.
Doug knows clearly. I didn't ask him. I tried to squeeze it out of Susan as well.